Alright, so this is video 3. I'm making our little Kardash miniature flower pot. Working on the petals of the flower. So I just did my slip stitch. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2, and double crochet into the next stitch over. Triple crochet. Remember, if you don't want the pointier flower, you don't do the picot part, which is this part. Chain 1, 2, 3, slip stitch in, pull it through, and pull it through. Now you continue on. Double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, slip stitch in, now slip stitch over in the next stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet in the next stitch, triple crochet in the next in that same stitch. And I'm going to do my picot 1, 2, 3, I slip stitch in, and I double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, slip stitch in, slip stitch into the next stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet into the next stitch, triple crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitch, double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, slip stitch in, slip stitch over the into the next stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, double crochet into the next stitch, triple crochet, chain 1, 2, 3, slip stitch, double crochet, chain 2, 1, 2, slip stitch in the next stitch, and then I like to slip stitch back into my first petal, cut me a tail, pull it through, whoops, pull it through, and there's the difference in petals you get. So the difference is the pointy part here, that's your picot. So if you didn't want that, you don't do that part, you get the rounded one. Now assembly. So you're going to need approximately 6 inches of the wire. Take the wire with my needle nose, wrap it a few times, pull it off my needle nose. Then I take my washer that I'm using as an extra weight, put it on top, try to get so it centers it. Using the table to push on. Then I'll push that down in there. Remember, I'm using this long tail to help sew on my brown. Before I do that, I'm going to take my long tail my brown, and I'm going to do a quick whip stitch around the edge. Just the back loops. So I'm going to go front, back on all of them. You can do a couple at a time and then pull. This just helps reinforce a little area when you're stitching. For some reason this yarn likes to twist a lot. I don't remember what brand this is, but it's not my favorite. And sometimes you'll get a weird little bump where you've slip stitch. So you may want to go a stitch or two afterwards. Now you can take your magic circle tail to help reinforce the shape and go in and out around a couple of times. Sometimes these don't always sit as round as they could. This also helps get your tail kind of weaved in without actually weaving it in. And because these are all going to be on the inside, I really don't care. I'm not going to cut them. It's extra stuffing. If you want to cut them, you can. If you want to tie them off or weave them in more, you can. That's your preference. So what I'm going to do is, mine is folded down, so this is my double crochet folded down on top of the single crochet which is underneath it. I'm going to go into the next stitch. I'm going to grab the brown, go back into the brown, and back out the blue. Now you can be very meticulous and make sure you're hitting every single stitch. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. When I'm doing this on camera, I just can't do both at the same time. You want to do it a couple times, then make sure you leave enough finger space, whatever you need, so you can still stuff. You're not going to need a whole lot. Make sure you get it around. The stem. If you don't find a coated stem, you can find a painted stem. You can paint a stem, you can wrap it with yarn. The other ones I made were crocheted stems. When I was trying to be more of a purist where everything was crocheted, I didn't like how it was turning out, which is why I've gone to the washers and using the wiring. Alright. I'm back in. Grabbing brown. Now after you get the stuffing in there, you gotta be careful you're not pulling the stuffing. It's going to pull, but doing your best not to pull the stuffing out. This will be less cleanup later on that you gotta cut or pull the stuffing that's kind of sticking out of your stitches. Put a little bit more in there. The last couple stitches are the hardest, especially if you have fat fingers. If you don't get them exact, it's actually okay. This stuffing's getting in the way right here. See, this one I gotta come up, then grab the brown for the last stitch. My finger just is not working right. And come back down. Now for this, I like to go over a stitch and crisscross a little bit as I weave in the ends. This kind of helps give you some stability in a way. You can also go back if you miss any little areas. Then I will crisscross as wide as I can. Got the washers there so I can't go all the way through the bottom. Pull it slightly so when I cut it, it snaps back in, and aside from it pulling some of the brown thread with it, it must have got snagged in the brown. We won't build the tail. Now over here, I'm going to weave in my yellow. Oops, wrong side the needle, that's why it's not wanting to. Now the brown, I will take the center of the magic circle, pull it tight if necessary, and use it to clean up the shape as necessary. I had someone come in when I was doing that, so I just went and finished up weaving the ends in the center. So now the outside one is what I got now. And personally, I like taking my outside, weaving it in and out around the edge. Pull it tight. Didn't get all the way around. And it puckers the center up. Now, I didn't do over here yet, as I didn't take my needle nose. Wrap it around. Now this is where I'm going to sew on my flower. I'm going to use the sides of the brown and the yellow meat. You know, some people glue these on. Haven't got myself to break down and use glue on crochet projects yet. Maybe eventually. Cut that. And ta-da! That one's done. As you can see, it turns out a little bit different because I did the petals different. And I pulled this a little tighter. Well done.